Hello.
Oh, entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Ed and Nikki,
Mhm.
thank you.
Entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
I think there was a correction and I'm in the process of trying to pull them up. I don't know if there was a misspelling of my name or something that was said specifically. Let me just pull it up. I'm sorry.
Okay, then.
I think it was the quote on what I had said in the, number 10, having this PLC in December and in March. And tomorrow, please consider having staff come in tomorrow, even if there's a delayed opening for students. It's just the typo, the grammar. Please consider having instead of considering having.
Okay. Yeah. That it, Jason?
Yep, that was it. It was just it was my ELA grammar coming in.
Will you amend your approval Sue, with that change?
I will, yes.
And then second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Sorry,
Mr. Farr, abstained.
I don't know.
And just for the record, Marissa will log the other board members that are here. I'm just not putting them in roll calls because they're not really part of the committee. Oh, public participation. Is there anyone on the public line? Nope. One at the table here.
You want to come down this way?
Huh?
Yeah, actually, you can probably pull that
This
chair
way, Ed?
over.
All right.
Yeah, there, that's easier.
Discussion, next steps, monthly financial.
Still in a very good position. I'm forecasting that we'll have 407,000 left towards the end of the year. Have not had any normally not good, really bad things happen, so we're in a good place.
Anyone have any specific questions on the monthly financials?
General question. Based on how this year went with COVID, I'm sure there'll be a lot of what we could be on this program, but next year, I thought the numbers are coming tomorrow. Or not, sorry, next one.
Next week, yeah. So, yeah, next year's budget presentation will be next week. And just for clarification on that, so the board will receive it next week, but we won't discuss it. And then it'll get moved back to budget.
Page 5 of 6, 5890 miscellaneous expenditures.
That's COVID expenses that we've had this year, the masks that we've had to purchase and sanitizing things. So far less than previous year.
Yeah, I'm just, because it was so high.
Did you have a question?
I did, that on the analysis, the first, it doesn't have a page, Torrington Public Schools budget analysis. The property section, what does that represent? It's just so I can understand.
The 5700s are non-instructional equipment and instructional equipment.
Non-instructional and, okay, any kind of equipment.
Yes,
And then dues, fees and miscellaneous.
those are all the dues and fees that the entire district pays for associations and like CASBO, the AAC, AAS, all of the different
Designations and things that they can.
Alphabet, yeah.
Okay, all right. One more question, and this is just because I'm understanding the budget or trying to understand it a little more this year. The VOAG tuition, it's, my assumption was that we pay it up front at the beginning of the year,
twice a year.
twice a year, so that's why the balance now is
Yes.
9,600. Okay. That's it.
That might, which line, which number are you looking at?
5560.
The estimated budget balance is because we didn't have as many kids there.
Okay, so that's why we
The
had
next-
that.
The second payment we have is 570,000. We pay that in March.
Okay. So that's gonna be a surplus.
That will be a surplus unless another child comes back and goes into the void, but I don't think they do that mid-year.
At this point, yeah.
Not this late, yeah.
Plus
Okay.
the VOAG, that is over.
So that,
Yeah.
yeah, it was budgeted for more students than actually went.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that, so within that little cluster, the VOAG sped costs have increased. So that line item is over by almost 26,000.
On the,
Which one?
The VOAG sped cost, right above that, so you have tuition, the VOAG
I think you guys are
regular.
looking at different sheets.
Oh, what sheet are you looking at?
What
Oh, I'm
page
sorry, I'm
4,
looking-
correct?
I always look at this one.
Okay,
Page 4 of 6.
Yeah. If you look here,
Yeah, the sped costs are higher,
it gives you what our budget is,
Okay.
what we've spent.
but the other is lower, so it,
it breaks it down further here. That's why you would
Yeah,
use this one. Okay.
So, VOAG sped, is that what we pay those two schools for sped students or?
for the
So when
special
you-
services that they receive.
Oh, okay.
so they bill us for the services separate to the tuition.
Another question, if nobody else did. Administrators travel,
What page and what number?
I'm sorry, 4 of
Page
6.
6.
Yeah,
It's 5580.01.
That's contractual for the non-union central office employees and their contract. that they get to
Non-union.
Travel.
Central, okay. Just tracking roles. That's all we got, I think.
Anybody else have any questions? Had one question then, and I'm not sure. You know, what's gonna be coming in the next couple of weeks and the possibility of masks being required on buses, but not in schools. Do we have a surplus of masks? I imagine a lot of these students will
Yes,
lose the masks in between.
we'll be able to put a box on, a tub, one of those plastic tubs with masks in it on every bus. So that when they get on in the morning, they can have a mask given to them. And when they get off it, go back on the afternoon, that if they've lost it in between, we have enough through the end of the year.
I think it's, we have to order that. Okay. Any other questions? No other questions? Okay. Budget timeline 22-23. That's yours too, or, yeah.
We basically need to come up with days that we're going to use for the budget. I know last meeting dates were thrown out. I don't have them in front of me, I'm sorry. Do you recall the dates that were thrown out last meeting?
They weren't really anything solidified. They were just kind of available dates that we didn't have exceptions for other meetings.
So Sue was giving out those dates and time. I know we need to have elementary and then high school on different dates. I just threw them all together on March to be determined.
You're looking at,
It was,
parent teacher conferences.
yeah, there was a lot. So we were trying to fit it in between everything. I can go
Have
get
it.
a school calendar. That one?
Was that in our, when did we talk about that?
Last meeting. Last.
Facilities?
Oh, she has one right there. You have them? I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that
Does that
doesn't,
look like the list?
yeah, that doesn't have the events on it though. does it?
No. it would not be that.
Yep, I jotted down some dates. Doesn't look organized, but it is.
You have it in a file folder?
Yeah,
You have
this
a
is
notes?
in the drawer.
Is it?
I'm impressed.
We need that master calendar to go to every school.
Yeah. I thought I jotted down.
Was it the 17th and the 18th? That's what I seem to recall. Or no, it was a Wednesday and a Friday,
Not a Friday.
Monday and a Friday, a Wednesday?
It was a Tuesday and a Wednesday,
I'm
because you have building committee on Thursdays.
Thursday, the 3rd.
sorry, yeah.
You have to go to each school. It's not on the master. So
Which dates are you looking at?
I think it would be good for the budget committee to meet twice before the public hearings, because I always find that that's really difficult when we haven't discussed the budget and we're having the public hearings to answer questions.
Mhm.
So if we,
So twice between the 23rd and the public hearing?
I mean,
Timeframe,
I think
you
so, just because, so we're gonna receive it next week, but we're not actually gonna discuss it, so.
So we could do public hearings a bit later in March to give people time.
Yeah. It's always confusing if you hold a public hearing and then you make changes, you know what I mean? It's really confusing if people aren't aware that you're doing that. To me, it almost seems better to move the public hearings to closer to when you finalize the budget,
Yeah,
because then you're getting.
You have
the input
everything.
after you've
I
had
agree,
the
yeah.
discussion.
Mhm. And you're more familiar with it, you can intelligently answer the questions.
Well, I mean, I think the point of the public hearing is
Okay.
simultaneously to hear from people about what they want. So if we were gonna do something at the end, and we're gonna do two, we could do one early in the process and one later. But I definitely think we should keep at least one early in the process so people can come tell us what they want.
That's what we do.
If
Mhm.
we do that, could we, instead of, 'cause like we used to divide it up, like have one where we talk about, district-wide and elementary or something, like
Mhm.
however we used to do it, could we just have them both be open forums?
I
And
think
have one at
people
the
treat them
beginning and
like
one
they
at the
are
end.
anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
think to
think
some
they do too.
degree they do, but just call it that, not try to divide it up.
Yes. I think that makes sense.
Are you okay with that, Sue?
Sorry, I'm coming to this late. I apologize.
We're talking about maybe doing the public hearings, one earlier in the process and one later in the process, and not designating them elementary or secondary, but just calling them public hearings.
Sure. That's fine. I don't think that's an issue. It's probably a good idea anyway, because we go through that whole process and then for the end, it changes.
Mhm.
So then we would need 2 dates. So 2 dates for public hearings and 2 dates for budget subcommittee to meet in March.
Would we need a third after the second public hearing? The budget subcommittee?
Yeah, so usually we put 2 on the calendar and then we would need to add more because it has to go to the full board in March in order to meet the time frame to go to the city. Unless we have special meetings after the fact.
Oh, right. That's, we can't really do it
Because of the way it
anyway.
works, our board meeting doesn't meet till after it's due to the city, so we would either have to finalize on March 23rd or add a special meeting in between then and April 15th. Keeping in mind that central office needs at least a week
Yeah.
to put together all the booklets and vacation.
Okay.
Vacation
Is
after
The
that.
15th.
the 15th to the 20th, yep.
One of the things we did on the calendar for next year is move sick and policy to the week before, if it's the end of the month. That would give us a chance to meet on the 13th of April which is before it's due for the city. I don't know if that would
It's
give
not
us
enough
enough time. Okay,
Yeah, no,
okay,
because
well,
they have to pull together all the books. It's a lot of work
Okay.
after the board approves
well,
it.
it's, just something we could have gotten away with if,
Yeah,
but if it's not gonna work.
So
I think they
Would
need
the
a good
sixth-
week to do
would
that.
Like March 30th or something? That's,
That would be the week after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
would the 6th be the latest that we could meet in order to give them a week?
No, because technically, the following week, the week it's due, the district is shut down for spring break.
No, it's not.
No, it's the week after.
No, it's the week
It's
after.
15.
The 15th is Friday. so then
15th
it's
is
the-
good for.
is good.
So we could,
They're off this week, 18th, to 22nd.
Okay.
so we
you're
could have up till the 6th,
saying-
right?
We could, yeah.
Can you move the regular board meeting to the 30th and then use the 23rd as a budget meeting?
Or just do the 30th as the special board, special budget meeting.
Mhm.
'Cause it's hard to do it in the full board meeting with everything else that's on the
Yeah.
Mhm.
agenda.
I mean, we could tentatively block out the 30th. We might need it, we might not. I mean, if we have 2 meetings, 2 public hearings, keeping in mind that we can meet also after the public hearings if we needed to.
We always do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really, we would have 4 meetings.
When is the week of conferences? Do you guys?
Yeah, I can't find it on the calendar.
29th,
I think it's
30th, 31st. Does that sound right?
I can just grab the calendar real fast.
I'm pulling up the calendar. I'm trying to pull up the calendar. I had it, and then I got off of it.
You just got back from vacation.
I have 29, 30, 31st is on
Yeah.
our
That's what I have.
calendar, but
Alright.
For
Conferences.
for
Conferences?
the high school, right?
yeah,
This is just.
early
what's on the school
dismissal,
calendar.
parent conferences,
Okay.
29.
29, 30th, 31st.
Yeah, that's what we have, 29, 30, 31st.
We have for half days in March.
Nothing, 17th is no full day. 25th is professional development, no school. So 29, 30, 31st is out, 25th is out. So what about? Are people opposed to Mondays or Tuesdays for these special ones to put in?
No.
What about March 8th? Or
Tuesday?
that's not gonna work, March 9th. We have regular budget.
Can we start at 5 instead of 6?
We can, yeah.
I have no problem meeting 2 days in a row if people.
I don't either.
It would probably actually be better for me because it would be fresh in my mind the second day.
Okay, so do you want to do the 8th and 9th for budget?
This is just our meeting, not the.
Subcommittee, yeah.
Yeah.
When would we want to do
And
the
then the
hearing?
next week, we could do the first hearing.
The week of the 14th.
Yeah,
You just have to-
What do we have
So
on
we're gonna do
that
14 and-
Wednesday?
Ally can't do Tuesdays. That's the only rub.
okay. Well, what about the 7th and the 9th? Can you do Monday?
Yeah.
Does the 7th and the 9th work for everyone? All right, so the 7th and the 9th will be budget committee meetings. And then,
What time?
well, the 9th is the regularly scheduled meeting, so why don't we say 5 o'clock on the 7th?
Mhm.
Wednesday is just our regular order of meetings.
Can
So
we,
the 7th would be a forum night with,
No,
No,
just a
just a
budget committee
sub-
meeting.
just
regular
Just to talk about the
subcommittee meeting.
budget,
so the 7th and the 9th just to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
and then.
Would
what
the
about-
9th be at 5 also, or?
I think it's 7 because it's a regular meeting.
It's a
Oh, 'cause we're gonna
regular
have-
meeting. We could switch the times of the regular meetings.
With
Because we have
facilities?
2 meetings.
Oh,
budget
that's
and
right, we have
facilities.
facilities, that's right, that's right, I'm sorry.
But if we can get a lot of it out on Monday,
Right,
hopefully
That's
it
right.
wouldn't be too much on Wednesday.
Mhm.
right.
And then what if we did a public hearing on Monday, the 14th?
Do we not have a meeting on the 16th? I don't think we do, because there's 5 weeks. So can we do something on that, on the 16th?
We could.
Maybe the public hearing? Or do the public hearing the 14th and then a follow-up on the 16th from the public hearing?
Yeah, well, if we do a meeting, yes, we do the hearing on the 14th, the budget meeting on the 16th. That would be, I think, the most appropriate meeting to try to move the budget forward to the full board meeting if we want to actually pass it on time on the
Mhm.
23rd. It's a squeeze and we might not be able to, but on paper. we
Then
could
you're only
try it.
having one forum then.
In the
Oh, right,
beginning,
we wanted to do.
Unless you have the
Yeah.
second forum on the 21st, Monday,
Um,
the 21st.
I'd rather do the. It's weird though, because I think. Like the impression I would read out of it is the board intends to pass this budget in 2 days. So they don't really care what I have to say. Like that would be the impression I would read about a public hearing 2 days before final passage.
no, because the 16th isn't necessarily final passage. If we have to meet again, we can meet on the 21st before we pass it to the full board on the 23rd.
Right, but we want to do 2 hearings between start and final, right? So Fiona is saying,
But the final's not till the 15th, right?
in theory, it's the 23rd. We could add additional meetings to push the date out. Unless it's ready on the 23rd.
Could we do our board meeting on the 30th? I know that that's conferences, but if we met as a board, then we could do a budget subcommittee meeting on the 23rd.
Can we just go during conferences?
Yeah, the 30th, we try to stay away from that. Although
We've done it in the
walking
past.
around the halls of the high
We've done it in the
school.
past, I think, yeah.
Can I just make a comment about that? Just with how, if you're gonna do your final, if you're gonna do the board meeting on the 30th, which is a conference day, and that's gonna be when you're doing a final decision on budget and full board, you're not giving any staff the opportunity to come and speak at public participation if they feel the need to comment on the budget before you pass it as a full board.
Yeah.
Or parents who might be doing conferences.
Right.
So we do 2 hearings in a week.
And then the other thing, I hate to do this, but this is a suggestion. If we needed to bump subcommittees for subcommittees in April, we maybe could do that if we needed more nights, or just do a Monday or Tuesday.
Well, how about on the 7th, have a committee meeting, but the 9th have a forum? Then the 14th have a regular meeting and the 16th a forum.
We gotta stay away from Thursdays though. Oh, no, that's Wednesday.
Well,
But the
Wednesday-
9th is the facilities meeting too.
So we'd be moving both
Yeah,
to
you
the
could move
7th.
that to
You
Monday.
could move
Well,
that to
the-
Monday.
Monday.
Oh,
That
just
can be
flip-flop.
moved to the 16th too, because there's nothing on the 16th, right?
Right.
Right.
I see.
I mean, it's moving things around, but at least you're having 2 forums, but there's a week in between.
Yeah, I
Were
think that's
people
cool.
opposed to the 7th and 14th for the forums?
I won't be here on the 14th, but that's
Oh,
just me. I'm
I'm not opposed. Those are fine.
what about the 7th and the 21st for the forums instead?
mhm.
Because when would
Yeah.
you do budget after the second forum? I like kind of like the 7th and the 14th, and then you do the 9th and the 16th for special meetings.
Mhm.
So like you kind of have the forum.
Mhm,
I know we hashed some stuff out that night, but then we have a follow-up and then we have the other forum.
mhm.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do a public hearing with the final passage immediately after. I think it's disrespectful to the community.
Yeah, well, just keep in mind, though, the budget committee is passing it to the full board. The full
Right,
board may
right.
not approve it
Right.
that night.
Sure.
We're all in every budget meeting, so hopefully
I'm gone for a week in March.
you are.
And I tried to do it around when we weren't meeting, and then now it's blowing up in my face.
No large vacations. Yeah.
I
I
went
mean, if you're
Thursday,
able to attend one public hearing, do
right.
you mind if you can't?
I
attend?
don't, no, I mean, I'm
Okay.
gone the 10th to the 16th, so I went Thursday to Wednesday. Yeah, so,
So does that work for administration to do the 7th and the 14th, the public hearings, 9th and the 16th would be budget? And obviously the 9th would also be facilities, but the 9th and the 16th.
And the forums would be the 7th and the 14th.
14th,
Then
yeah.
the budget meetings would be the 9th and the 16th. I think that's fine.
Do we do like 6 o'clock for the forums?
6, yes. we usually
That's the
do.
earliest.
Yeah.
So March 7th is out now then.
And then if the,
It's a public hearing.
14 are
Oh,
public
7th,
hearings.
7th is okay, okay, got it.
and then if the budget committee can hold the 21st open just in case. Then I think we're all set.
It's always an adventure.
So is there something on the 16th?
Yeah,
Yes,
budget.
budget.
So the forums are the 7th and the 14th.
Yeah.
Budget committee 9th and the 16th.
Yeah.
And then holding the 21st open in case there's another one.
In case the budget committee's not ready to move it to the full board.
And so then the meeting on the 9th is gonna be the regular 7 o'clock scheduled budget meeting. afterwards,
All right, Slappy,
right?
sorry.
Okay, and then the 16th, what time?
Should try for 5.
I think we should do early at 5,
Which,
the 16th.
What about the 9th?
The 9th is our regular scheduled meeting.
So that'll be 7.
It's facilities and budget.
But could you have it at 5 to 7 and then have facilities at 7?
We're just gonna end up canceling facilities if we do that, would be my suspicion. Because we're gonna do like 2.5 hours of budget, and then we're gonna be like, well, maybe we should move facilities.
Okay, gotcha.
We can move them up, I think, instead of doing 6 and 7, if Gary
Oh,
can
do
run a
like 5
facilities
and
meeting at
6?
5, do 5 and 6, so we have more time without bleeding into the late night.
I can do any day. What do you think?
If it is.
Might be
Do you want to move facilities? to 5 and budget
Sorry.
afterwards? Okay, so facilities will be at 5.
On the 9th.
And then budget will be at 6.
So people don't.
so on the 9th and the 16th, it's at 6.
No,
And-
16th
16th
at
at
5. The 9th is just a little bit,
Okay,
sorry.
that's all right.
We're swapping facilities to start at 5 o'clock on the 9th so that budget can start at 6.
Got it. And then,
The 16th, it's 5 o'clock.
and then March 7th and March 14th are 6 o'clock?
That's typically what we do for the forums, just so that the
Right.
community
Public,
can get there
that's
after
fine.
work.
And then on the 21st, is that at 6 o'clock as well, or is that at 5
The
o'clock?
the 21st is only as needed. So if we
it's
need
a-
it, we'll do 5,
Okay,
but we're not going to post it because we'll decide on the 16th if we need that 21st or not.
okay. And what are we doing with the 30th? We're not worrying about that right now.
Probably nothing because it's
Maybe.
parent teachers.
Conferences.
Okay, so we'll wait and
Conferences,
see.
Yeah, we'd like to stay off of that just because the staff can't attend that week.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Thank you.
And
What did you
then
say about the
We do the
9th?
7th at Vogel, sorry, and the 14th at the high school.
Okay,
Does that work? Just so that there's different
Yeah,
locations
that's
in
fine.
town?
sure. And we'll just discuss all.
Yeah.
At both.
What'd you say about the 9th? What time?
The
6,
9th, we're gonna move facilities
Flip-
to
just
5
flip-flopping.
o'clock
No,
Okay.
and budget.
Oh,
at
5 and
6.
6. Okay, so I did get that right. Okay, 5 o'clock.
Can I just ask, because I'm trying to write it all down here, can you just start right from the beginning with the first one with what it is and the time?
So Monday, March 7th, public forum, Vogel Wetmore School, 6 o'clock. March 9th, 6 o'clock will be the budget meeting. The 14th, Torrington High School, 6 o'clock, public forum. The 16th, 5 o'clock, budget subcommittee meeting. And then tentatively the 21st for budget subcommittee, if they don't make a recommendation on the 16th.
And the
And-
9th and the 16th would be at Midgeon?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I'll try and be in person for those.
And the Vogel date is which?
Vogel is the
7th.
7th,
7th.
6 o'clock.
Okay,
THS
okay,
the
so
14th,
we'll
6
get that
o'clock.
down for budget meeting. Okay.
Too bad for all these people's calendars. Any other questions on the timeline?
This will all come out over the next day. or two,
Yeah.
right?
And then just keep in mind, so we're gonna actually have a forum before the budget committee discusses the budget. I don't know if people are okay with that or not, but
Why not?
that's the way it will work out. The first forum will happen before we discuss the budget.
I think that's probably actually my preferred method, right? So we see it, it becomes publicly available. Nothing is changed from that publicly available document when the public can come forward and say something. I think that's probably less confusing than if we've meddled with it already.
Yeah,
We
agreed.
did that already.
Yeah,
Right.
so that they think we did something behind.
Right.
their back.
People are seeing the same thing we're seeing and they
Yeah.
can tell us what they want before we ever make any decisions.
All right, food service RFP.
Have received the RFP from the state of Connecticut. It's 140 or 50 pages long. We're working on it. We have to do exactly what they say. We can't alter the documents in any way, shape, or form. The director at the state, Andy Paul, is very adamant about many of the things in the document. So it's a work in progress. I hope to bring it to you by the next board meeting for you to look at.
What is the timeline for the RFP? Like, when do we have to put it out and when do we have to pick?
So we will have to be doing this in April and worst case scenario, May for July 1 start. We'll have to make a committee comprised of administrators, teachers, board members to choose the people that come in with bids. It's a very convoluted process.
So we're putting out for contracts. For service.
Yes,
The state gives us the RFP.
yes,
Fine.
yes. It's very, very precise.
Last time we only had one person.
Is there a lot of options?
Yeah.
A lot of options, like, or, companies that in the area that would potentially could bid?
Well, there are 68 people going out to bid this year because they didn't have to do it last year because of COVID. So there are not a lot of companies.
Mhm.
There's probably, if we can get 3 bids, it'll be a banner. Because there's so many other people going out to bid at the same time. So I'm trying to get it done as soon as humanly possible. It's a bear of a document.
No, I was gonna ask the same question, so.
So the surplus that we have, that we're showing currently, and say that continues, through the rest of the year. What is the goal with that around like the food service piece? Is it to really reinvest it in
Yes.
quality of food and things like that? Okay.
Absolutely.
So that would probably, so how does
Increase
that work?
participation, if we can get things that are more desirable for the students and staff, then we can increase participation rates, which will in turn create a healthier program. Sustain itself so that the board won't have to come up with money every year to keep it afloat. Yeah. That's my ultimate goal, to make sure that the food service program is completely self-sustainable.
And a lot of like the RFP information, does that include like quality, like, does that include kind of like more
Yes.
specifics around, okay.
Yes, we will put in muscle meat, period. I don't want kids getting chopped form food. I'm not sure if they are right now, but I want to ensure that they don't, because muscle meat is what kids need to eat. And all of those different things, like if there's specifics that you would like to see, and if you want to be on the committee, just sign up to be on the committee and we'll talk about it. It's very important that we take care of the food needs for our students, because some of them, it's the only place they get food.
Jason,
Does the RFP usually include, or does what are equipment in the kitchens, does that limit who might bid or what bids might be doable based on our equipment, and what is our equipment status in the kitchens? I know that for a while we worked hard to get some things fixed. We had things that were broken. I don't know where we're at with that. And what is that requirement in the RFP? Is that part of what we provide, or is that what the vendor would bring in?
I would prefer to make it so that we pay for the equipment, because it's in our schools, it belongs to us. It also gives you the chance to get more vendors who may join the RFP process if you don't put those specific things in it.
But does our equipment allow for what you're saying, the muscle meat and not the pre-cuts type? Do we have that ability?
Yes, you have the ability to cook anything that you might want to cook. I toured every single kitchen in the district, and we are in very good shape.
Good. Okay. I haven't eaten in the cafeteria in a while, especially since the start of COVID. I know that they always did a really good job several years back, and so I'm just wondering that it's still in that condition with things that have happened with COVID and everything else.
The equipment is well kept up.
Are they able to do salads and stuff like that now again, or are we still kind of in that
We're
COVID?
still kind of in the COVID feeding. They do the best that they can, but there's a lot of things that they can't do a la carte right now.
Okay.
Sorry, great question. Like, when does that, are we waiting for an executive order to go out of plate? Like, what are we waiting for like to change some of that back to what it was before?
When we are through with the current government USDA regulations that allow us to have that seamless summer option through the end of the school year. So I believe that, I don't think it's going to be re-upped for next year, but that's up to the government.
You said it's a seamless summer, like. the
Yeah,
kind of
we're
restrictions?
currently on the seamless summer option, so we get more money for every meal that we sell right now, breakfast and lunch.
But that restricts a la carte items, is it?
No, that's for everything. It's everyone in the United States is on that now because of COVID. So most everyone is free.
No, but what I'm saying, but we can't do like salad bar and stuff because of that? or-
I don't believe so. It's difficult with a salad bar because you have kids that are going through and it's all open.
So it sounds like it's the standard federal government, you want our money, you do what we want deal.
Yes,
Yeah.
currently.
And there's also probably some items they can't get, you just can't get them.
There's quite a few items they can't get right now, so they're doing the best they can and they're doing a very good job.
Any other questions on food? If anyone has interest in serving on that committee, you can let me know that you're interested in that. So I can pass the names on. You want two board members?
That would be good.
All right. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, yonder costs. So I sent you guys some information today, but just from a procedural standpoint, we're really just, before the board discusses it, we wanted to look at what the cost was and can we afford it, so that the board has that information when making the decision. The goal is next week, we'll get a presentation on yonder, but at least we'll have an understanding on whether we can afford the cost of it or not when we move to that next level. They are doing site visits tomorrow to look at our actual facilities, to see how it would work at the middle school and the high school. So costs for each were in the packet.
Is it this?
Yes.
I don't think mine-
It's not mine.
It was in
It was in the original
I know,
budget
but
package.
I don't have it. So
So if you give me yours, I can hear.
So this price
Any
would
grab it.
include,
No.
if we implemented it for this year and all of next year. So the cost that's on the sheet would be through June 30th of 2023.
$59.50. $59,050.
They're bringing it out to 2024, so, yeah, so 34,000 is through June 30th, 2023.
Oh, okay.
And then it's 25,000 would be for the next year, so they give you the discount for the longer period of time. The shipping is a big piece of the cost for the original shipping of all the kiosks and the actual pouches. But I think it's the kiosks that are the most expensive. So for a year and a half, it would be $34,050 if we do middle school and high school. And then if we decided not to do one, it would be 16,800 for the high school or 15,200 for the middle school. The shipping would change based on the number of kiosks and that we're getting. But then the following year, if we resubmitted for 7/1/23 to 6/30/24, they would discount us at both schools substantially, and it cuts the cost down to 25,000.
Notes on the back of that.
Would we anticipate the 25,000 kind of like as that yearly cost moving forward?
Yes.
Plus the cost of any extra yonder boxes we would need.
Not really. So, I mean, obviously, if we were losing hundreds of them, that would be a different story.
I was looking today on the site of all different questions and stuff. There was a cost every year for the boxes.
Well, that's all
But I'm
part
thinking
of
that's
fee.
but that's the license, right?
Well, it's all wrapped into the fee. All of the costs are wrapped into their fee. The license, all that is in the
Okay,
fee they
gotcha.
give you.
Okay.
And the fee is based purely on your number of students.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we,
Well-
if we had a drastic increase in our student population, the price might change, but you would be locked in contractually for the years that you've agreed to the price.
Okay.
So even if our students increase, we would be locked into these prices.
Okay, so it's not
Okay.
at the unit cost times.
Right.
Okay, times the number needed, it's the
Right.
actual.
Right.
That's good.
Well, it's probably a combined, right? Like you gotta buy the units and then you're paying the yearly
Now, I thought,
afterwards, right?
thought
I
that,
don't know. I wasn't there, so I'm,
Yeah.
that's
No,
sort of
this
a
is all,
half question.
this is all encompassing. This is the
Right.
total price with. the
Right, so
unit.
that includes the cost of the units, the licensing fees
Everything.
altogether,
Right.
right? So your discounted cost probably isn't a discount so much as it is just, buying new units.
Well, so you're always gonna need new units because you're always gonna have a whole grade coming in that didn't have them before.
right. I thought there were more students at the middle school than the high school.
There's more students at the middle school.
So then this is opposite, right?
No,
Middle
so-
should be 1050 and high should be 950.
No, because the middle school, I'm sorry, is only 7th and 8th grade.
For when they move up to the high
Oh,
school.
got you, got
Because we're only
you.
rolling out the high school first.
So it's
So
not
we don't
middle,
know.
it's junior
So
high.
that's
Okay,
originally what
gotcha.
we had talked about, but then there seems to be a need and desire to do it at the middle school. So
Okay.
Gotcha.
that's
So
something
one
that
more
we're gonna
question.
have to discuss.
The 59,000, would we, if we sign the contract, we pay that upfront in full? Or is there
No, you would pay-
installments?
No.
You would pay the 34,000,
Oh, and then 25,000
All right.
in 2023. Okay,
yeah, in a year
Yeah.
and a half.
all right. Okay. So Nikki needs to look at the budget and find us $34,000.
So no, that's why we're here tonight, because if we wanted to implement it this year, then we would need to find the funding in this year. Go ahead, Jessica.
So we're not looking at doing 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in the middle school, only 7th
We
and 8th
are,
grade?
but what they did is they took the average of the long term, so until eventually it would be 7 through 12. But right now, in this transitional period, we would be doing 6 through 12
Mhm.
because of the way it's structured. But then it would go to 7 through 12.
That's not gonna be for quite a few years, though.
Yeah.
That's not gonna be till after this contract is over.
Yep.
So then the numbers, the total,
So the
units,
cost
those
of the
numbers are not
pouches-
relevant.
It is, because the cost of the pouches is pretty much irrelevant. That's not where the cost is, it's the administrative fee.
And
What
the-
is that for?
and the
Can you
kiosk.
explain that a little more detail, like kiosk? I understand it's a pouch and a magnet that goes on the wall. That's all I get.
There's a video, but she
Yeah,
explained the
so-
video.
I watched the video and it's,
So what it is so the kids turn off the phone.
I never seen.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know what she was showing you.
The terms and conditions.
Yeah, so what it is, so the kids turn off their phone, they put the phone in their pouch. As they're entering the building or wherever is agreed upon that these kiosks are, it locks the pouch.
Let me say kiosk though, it's really just, it's a little plastic piece where the
Right.
opposite,
Wow.
With a magnet.
where the other side of the magnet is, just like when you go into a phone store. Just put the magnet on top of the magnet, it locks it around.
And the pouch is locked all day, and then they leave the building at the end of the day, the pouch gets unlocked, they take the pouch, it goes in their backpack. And then they use it the next day, so it's their pouch.
When you say kiosk, I'm thinking this
Yeah,
electronic
yeah.
kiosk. thing.
No, no,
It's
no,
little-
it's just.
It's a little
Just a big round magnet that they
That
show
goes on the wall.
It's half the
Yeah.
size of this one. Kind of just look at it.
Yeah.
But then it has a piece on it that's a magnet that can be taken off, so that main part of the kiosk would stay either on a table or a wall or wherever, and then that little piece would be taken off, so no child can go by and unlock during the day.
So where does the whole licensing thing come in? What are they actually licensing?
The fact that it's proprietary,
It's
probably.
proprietary, the
Yeah.
product.
Okay.
But so there's a lot of administrative stuff that goes along with it.
Such
So
as,
there's- They'll spend minimum of a week at the school when we roll it out.
oh, as far as that,
Yeah,
there's setup and commissioning and training and all that.
Yes,
Okay.
plus they do administration courses, training for our administrators.
Okay.
Work with teachers, but they're there. One of the schools, they ended up being there for 4 weeks, helping the administration to facilitate the onboarding of the thing. They do parent meetings, staff meetings, student meetings, to kind of just talk about it and what's gonna happen. They work with the district on policies surrounding it. So I would say the bulk of the cost is the administrative fee, not so much what you're actually using. Go ahead. Oh, sorry, Jason, go ahead.
You talked about having having to buy pouches for a new grade each year, but so the seniors, do those pouches just go home with them and we don't see them? Do they turn them in? I mean, we wouldn't necessarily be buying a whole new set of pouches for a whole new grade. We could recycle through, couldn't we?
Yeah, they turn them in, but by the time the seniors, they'll have them for quite a long time by the time they get rid of them. So whether,
They personalize them too, because
right, they write on
Pictures
them and design, put things on them, so.
I just wanted to clarify if it was, they turn them back in once they're done with them, and then we could reuse them if they're usable.
Yeah, yeah, and then there'll always be extras because you'll have new students coming in, so but I would imagine by the time they end their school career, it's probably not going to be something that we would want to pass on to new kids coming in.
After the meeting with the officers tomorrow, will we have a better idea of what they think, like from a staffing perspective, or like how it would flow? Because I would imagine we need to build potentially something into the cost, additional into the cost, either related to staffing or whatever.
So all the conversations we've had with them and, this, when they look at our site, I mean, districts that are much larger than ours.
Yeah.
They don't. It's really the person that usually is handling that area is who oversees it.
Mhm.
So the person that's at the door anyways would oversee it. What we're trying to figure out at the middle school, because of the pure number of kids, is how to flow it so that we're not backing up dismissal, because you don't want to have the buses leave middle school late because the domino effect in elementary. But Yonder is saying in other schools that it's actually shortened their dismissal time because the kids want their phones. So they go dilly-dally in the hallways and they get out to get their
Makes
phone.
sense. Yeah,
So, but they'll
Good
look at
idea.
our
That makes
setup and see,
Mhm.
they need to
That's
see
awesome.
where kids are entering, where they're exiting, how many are going through each door, and that's where they'll work with the administration at both buildings, and then give us a recommendation based on their site visit. So a lot of the ones out west, the kiosks are outdoors, they're on fences, they're on
Right.
posts, but we can't do that
Right.
here
Mhm.
because of the cold, so.
And they also,
Jason,
okay,
There was the option, I remember at a previous meeting talking about each teacher having a kiosk. So if the last period of the day, they were the ones that were doing the unlocking rather than actually the exiting of the door, correct?
yeah,
Was that-
so they don't recommend that, but it's something that we can talk about. Because as soon as you start putting them everywhere, then you add the discretional piece to it.
Mhm.
True.
And
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
I'm not saying even a regular teacher, but you could have subs unlocking them, and then it's not really a thing. So they do strongly urge that the most successful districts are ones that it's locked when they come in, unlocked when they come out. And then if there's a specialty class or something, that would be different, like I'm just gonna use the drones class because
Mhm.
that's an example that came because the flight simulator is actually on the phones. So that would be like a special circumstance because it is educational related. But they think it's a really bad idea to put it in every room. Ellen?
And it's not like they're just gonna come like tomorrow and look at the schools. They will also come during drop off, during the end of the day, just to see what it's like and kind of recommend where a kiosk would be best suited. Just see the flow.
So then every year after, they come the first week of school again to kind of reacclimate everybody to
Right.
what's going on.
Have the same meetings and, yeah.
So, but we're gonna have them give a presentation
yeah.
because I just had sent you some stuff they had sent that I've been looking at,
Yeah.
some articles. I especially found the ones interesting of the kids that have already been
Yeah.
through it and what
Right, their
their
feedback.
feedback was interesting, I thought. So go ahead.
At what point, so they're coming out tomorrow, they'll come out and do a presentation, and then is that the point where we decide to sign the contract?
Yeah, I mean, the board will have to decide,
Yeah.
yes, whenever we are ready to move forward. We had talked about if we were gonna roll it out this year, making it a date that would, one, enable the administrators to be able to go through the training. Two, enough time to have the parent meetings and the student meetings. So we had talked about possibly looking at when we return from April break at that time frame, which would give enough time to
Mhm.
prepare everyone.
Mhm.
The board will make that decision once they have the information.
would they change the quote? Because it was from January of this year. If you started in April, would it become less of an expenditure?
We can ask. I mean, this is when we first started talking about it.
Yeah, we can, I don't think, unit prices are the same, and so are the administrative costs, but
Right.
it's up to them. They want to get it, so.
I'm just trying to save money.
No, I know, exactly.
After we hear from them, do we have something on the agenda for a regular board meeting next week to
Yeah, we
discuss an action item? Sorry.
Yeah, we'll have it
Okay.
on if people are ready to move forward.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't know if this is, yeah, sorry, I don't know if this is for like this.
Yeah.
Topic, but, what is the alternative, right? And I think there isn't one. Or I really want to make sure we're hashing out what the other side of this coin is, because, just so we're clear for everybody. What is the other option if we were not to go forward with this?
I mean, I think we have there's a couple of layers to this, right? So it's my understanding that the board has already decided that we do not want cell phones in schools.
Mhm.
So that, taking that part of the equation out, your options are twofold. One, right now, our policy is at teacher discretion. We changed the policy to enforce that desire to have no cell phones in school. And then it would be left up to everyone in the school to make sure that happens. This was really, I think, just looking at a tool to make it easier so that teachers weren't constantly having that struggle with students about the phones. And then it would be handled, we had talked, about different ways to handle it. One could be a 3-tiered system. Other districts do a 2-tiered system where it's kind of out of the classroom teacher's hands, where they're not having to deal with this all the time. So the alternative would be, unless the board decides they want cell phones, but without cell phones, the alternative is that the staff deal with it in the building and not have any cell phones in the hands of kids.
And this, I think looking into this was based off of the response from some of the feedback we heard right at that first policy meeting.
Yep.
Right, from Robin, where she said, that they need assistance. I think Sue echoed that.
And I think, so the policy was done, I think it's been 6 years now originally, where we brought cell phones into the schools. 2015. But it really has not been successful and it has not worked. And part of the thing we're supposed to do is evaluate the policies we put in place and see if they work. And this one just really has not. And it's not really anyone's fault. It just hasn't worked.
Yeah, we tried it.
Yeah, Jeff.
I don't want to discuss this now, but just for next week, will we receive information about what are there things that teachers are using cell phones now that they would not be able to then do in the classroom if the Yonder pouches were installed? I mean, like legitimate educational uses, like apps that they can't get on the Chromebook, things like that. You don't have to answer now, but I'm just when we have that conversation, I think that's an important piece of information.
Yeah, so Ally was working on
Looking
a
into it now,
list.
Yeah.
I think Robin was doing that.
Well, we're coordinating with the high school because that's predominantly where it is. Yeah, and just some ESL pieces as well.
Well, there is another option. No phones on campus at all, but that would never, no, we wouldn't get that approved. But that would be my choice.
Well, I think at least with this way, the child has the phone with them, so it's not an
No,
an anxiety thing. You know
this
what I
is-
mean?
yeah, this is
If
meant
there's
to-
no phone on campus, it makes it more anxious for them,
Oh, I agree. No, I agree.
Yeah.
We would never get the other option approved. But
Well, the other option puts more stress on the staff.
Mhm.
There's
Right.
already
The
a lot
family,
of
the
things
kids.
to work
And the
on.
kids,
Yeah, there's
right,
a lot of
yeah.
stuff
Right.
You're
already.
just gonna make the kids real angry and inconvenience
Yeah.
everyone who works in your building.
Right.
Yeah, it lives in
right.
their house
Yeah.
because they have to take the phone.
And the kids are
Yeah.
already gonna be real angry.
I mean, the only thing that we have to consider, when we do this, and hopefully we do, but is eventually we're gonna become liable for things like we have a policy. Let's say we stick with it. No Yonder boxes. Kids can do what they're doing now, except they're supposed to have them put away. If we have a policy that calls for not having the phone, eventually there's gonna be something that happens where we're responsible because we enforce policy. And that is gonna be a terrible
Mhm.
situation. Because we're pretty close now with the problems we're having with some of these kids. We have not been enforcing some of our policies, especially at the high school. And luckily, we're not in a bad situation. I mean, I shouldn't say that. There's some bad things that have happened, but we've not encountered what they're encountering, for instance, in New Britain. And it's probably gonna be in the papers tomorrow, but with their shooting, that took place over cell phone during the day in school.
Well, I think the work we're doing, sorry, just to add, I think the work we're doing in the policy, committee to really kind of go through all the policies, make sure they're incredibly clear. I think we find this one could be a little bit misread, right? The middle school is not even mentioned in there. So I think it's a combination of both, like being very clear on what the board's expectations are in the policy. And then we can hold everyone accountable to that because we're very clear.
Mhm.
And technology's changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apps.
Right.
Jason, did you have a question?
Nope, I'm all set.
Yeah, so one other thing that people might want to just look at if you have a chance, so the Michigan shooting that happened, so they've come out with this report about what the kids having cell phones during that shooting meant for the response, because it identified where the officers were in the building, because the kids were Snapchatting.
Mhm.
And it actually, they said, put the kids in the school at severe risk. And it also clogged the lines of communications for the first responders. So there's an interesting report out there about it. And it specifically cites cell phones as a big reason.
They couldn't get to where they needed to be fast enough, kind of thing, or?
Yeah, well,
That
it's
it was
just like kind of, it provides the shooter the ability to see live what's going on in the school, because in
Yeah.
most of these cases, it's someone from within. It's not someone from the outside. So,
Phones go off when they're, the shooters going through the hallway, phones go off because really buzz, or, kids are FaceTiming their parents doing this.
Right.
Those are some of the things. It's not, it was Michigan, but there's a number of them. It's happened over and over again in most of the shootings. But that's not the cause of the shooting, of course.
no,
Yeah.
go ahead, Glenn.
With that said, how are we ensuring that these phones are off before they go in the pouches?
Well, so in a phone-free environment, let's call it that. I mean, the first one that goes off, the teacher's gonna hear
They're
Well,
supposed to be
I'm just
shutting it
saying
off.
about in an emergency situation, not a phone's in the pouch. You can't silence it because it's in a pouch.
Well, as they put it,
Yeah.
he'll explain.
You know what I'm
tomorrow.
saying?
Yeah.
If it's in the pouch and it's not off, we got the same problem and now we can't even correct the problem or silence it.
it. Yeah,
We
but
gotta,
I think
you
the
know.
problem would probably maybe be
Well, they're supposed to be shutting
one
it off
or
as they put
two
it in.
versus 1,000.
Yeah, that's my
going off.
question. How are we ensuring that it's off?
They're gonna turn them off when they go in there because they don't want it to be dead when they walk out. the
Well,
building.
That too.
That's exactly what they say, but they're supposed to be turning them off as they
Sure.
present them to the person.
One of the links or pages on their website referenced, they sell other bags. And when you put your phone in that bag, and I'm not sure if their original school bag is the same thing, it shuts out service. Like it shuts the phone out. So it doesn't ring, you have no service. And I don't know if it's a
Yeah.
special
So that's a
material
bag-
they use.
That's a bag that's coming out in
Yeah, that's
June,
future.
Oh,
technology,
okay.
right.
but it's
Okay.
not available yet.
Okay.
We also talked about the extra large pouches, because kids don't just have phones, they have smartwatches, they have buds.
Mhm.
So the extra large bag could actually hold all of those items if they chose to bring them to school.
Mhm.
But he also did say that if the phone is shut off, the other things don't work.
That's not,
No,
yeah,
it's not
No?
true.
Okay.
No.
Said there's ways around that.
No.
I don't know.
No, I thought the same.
I don't use any of that stuff.
He said unless they can connect to a hotspot or something. there was-
Yeah,
There are going to be kids that find a way around that. They're going to find it through the
of course they
laptops.
will. They'll go back to cheating with ink on their hands instead of a phone.
How do you know about that?
I saw it.
I used to cheat off you, Ellen.
I mean, if we're moving forward about it and we're serious about it, then we have to make sure that we have a policy that
It's very clear.
supports offenders, because
Right.
you're always going to have some kids that are gonna figure out a way around it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if it's a priority for us, we just need to make sure it can be rolled out and administered properly.
Mhm.
Right.
Does Shipman happen to have a policy in place for anything like that yet?
We would be the first school in Connecticut. There's one
Well, they gave us a policy. but-
charter school
Yeah,
that might be beating
A
us.
sample. They
Yeah.
gave us a sample.
And Massachusetts,
perfect.
they're putting them in everywhere now. So
Yeah.
Chicopee and.
Will the full board get it next week?
No,
The sample
It'll go to
policy?
Policy.
it'll go to policy.
Okay.
So we have to decide if we're doing it, and then if we decide that we're doing it, then it will go to the policy committee to do a policy on it.
Okay.
The ones they use are very simple. It's one page.
Okay.
Here's what you do. And if you don't, this is what you, if they don't, this is what you do. The ones they've been successful with.
That's good.
And just lastly, the only thing I'm gonna say, because I've heard a lot of talk about having forums with parents and forums with kids about this. So the concern I have with that is if the board is considering allowing cell phones, then I think forums are a good idea. But I think doesn't really send a good vibe if you're calling people together to get their opinions when you have no intention of allowing cell phones in schools.
Right.
So I think we have to be considerate of that, because if you're going to have parents say, I want my child to have a phone, and then you just walk out, it's almost like you just did it because you felt like you had to. But if you're not going to take any of that into account, I'm not sure it warrants hosting those types of things.
Agreed.
So what, what the other ones do is they hold those sessions to give everyone the information. And that's something that the board can decide. That's just my feel. Like, I would be upset as a parent if you held this big thing as more of a dog and pony show when you have no intentions of changing your mind, unless the board wants to do that and consider that. But if that's not where we are, then just.
I mean, I think it would be beneficial, could be beneficial to have a question and answer session, like an informational session about what we're considering prior to the vote, not necessarily a forum, but like something where people could get information on the program. But I also think that we probably would have had to plan that already, because we're looking at possibly voting on this next week. So I think there's a lot of questions in the community, and maybe some of the negative feelings that people have are simply because they haven't received information on how like physically this works and what the intent is behind it. I mean, so that's the only thing I would say. But that being said, again, I think we would have to kind of have that ball rolling already if we were going to do that. So
I would think they would get that information from when Yonder comes and presents to them. If we decide that's what we're gonna do.
yeah, no, I understand what
Yeah.
for that. But I think
Yeah.
we may get a lot of feedback from the community
I'm
next
sure
week,
we will.
which may, some of the things that I've heard from people, it's just they don't understand what's being proposed. So I don't know. I guess we'll
So
see.
why don't we leave the link? Sorry. Colin.
Well, can we just kind of, I think we were going to say the same thing. Can we prepare something in advance to just explain to them or send out the link to the community via email prior to the meeting so they can see what we're saying? Or just simply,
Proposing.
huh?
Yeah, but we're proposing
Or, yeah.
whether it gets approved or not.
And it's really a 5-minute review of what they have. It's not, it's pretty basic.
Jason,
The ownership for information gets put to the person who needs that information. You as a board are making a decision that we as staff appreciate. At least I'm going to say that. You're being definitive in what it is that you want to have happening. You're making it happen. If there are people out there that don't understand or don't know why, then it's up to them to understand and figure it out for themselves. Yonder has a website, which I just went to, that explains it very clearly. The name is out there. And we need to make this as definitive of a response as you have said you want it to be, because we haven't been doing that. And so it's up to the public to inform themselves of what's going on in the buildings and what's going on as far as a board and what you're deciding and what you're choosing to use. That's just my point. We need to move on because we keep talking about things and nothing gets fixed. And nothing's changing. And we need to just make those decisions. And if they don't like it, you're all up for election at some point in the future.
Yeah, I can appreciate, and in a perfect world, I think that's true, but I do think that it is it's at least my responsibility to get information out to the parents. I was waiting until the board had actually voted on this, but if you want me to get something out, I can get something out that this is a proposal that the board is looking into, or if you want to wait until after the vote is done. I'm not sure.
I personally have no problem with it going out.
all right, hold on. Sue, Ed, Gary, Nikki.
So, I think it should go out. I think if we send it to them, if they still feel the need to come in and speak at our regular board meeting, that's fine. I'm sure they will anyway, but I think you said we're all kind of on the same page as where we're going with this. So I don't think putting it off is a good idea. And that way they have the link, they can do the investigation and then they can ask questions if need be, but.
Yeah, Was I next?
Hold on, no, Ed and then.
Yeah,
Julia.
no, I agree with Jason. I'm probably the only person on the board who's not particularly interested in this, but just sort of on the fundamentals of how it's going to happen. I think it is more appropriate to send information after a decision's been made. It's not the board's responsibility to coddle people through civic participation. It's our responsibility to make it available to them and to listen to them when they choose to participate. But it's not our responsibility to drag parents kicking and screaming into a meeting so they can yell at us. If people want to come and address the board, there's a public comment period. I'm more than happy to listen to them, as I always do. But we don't have to go out of our way for something that's really a fairly standard decision, right? We have public hearings on the budget because it's important, like really important. This is, it's not a really important life-altering decision for the city of Torrington. People can come if they want.
Gary.
Well, if he changed my mind, I kind of agree with him, but not life altering decision, but.
It isn't.
But for some kids, it may be. But no, I mean, there's I'm back with him on that in terms of it's not like this is a privilege that these children are allowed. They're not allowed to have phones. They're not allowed to have lots of things. And as a board, we just need to make a decision. And then in the meantime, it's Yonder, YONDR, they can do the research and see what it is. I don't think many people have a problem with it. The problem is going to be they want their kid to have a phone. And that's just not something that if we decide as a board, that's not something that as a child should have as an option, because for a lot of reasons, then we make a decision as a board on that. But let them do the research and give them everything they need after we vote. Or at this date time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we should share the information with parents, but I think also with the premise that we've made our decision that we are not allowing phones in the school. We're doing this to kind of help that decision, help the staff with that decision, help the kids with that decision. And so we can debate yonder boxes all we want, but the alternative, which is kind of like where I was trying to go a little bit, is really like, there really isn't one that's helpful to everybody. It's going to be more of the same, but just with a heavier hand. Right? I mean, I don't think we need to debate again, or the fact that we all agree that we do not want cell phones in the classroom.
Right, so a statement.
So,
could be
yeah, I mean, I think
made
just a
that
statement around like, because we haven't
board
changed the policy
is
yet.
no longer allowing cell phones in schools. It may be, Yonder may be the vehicle, here's a link.
Yeah.
Where you can further investigate it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And share that we're doing it
Right,
for I mean, that's the reason we're investing this money, is so the kids don't have that cell phone there with that addiction to check it. Teachers aren't having to waste strong instructional time on disciplining kids for having their cell phone out. And never mind all the social media things that come along with it. So I wanted to have, it's a tough decision and I understand that, but it should have a positive spin on it from an educational standpoint.
Because that's really what it comes down to,
Yeah.
is that's it, right, is
Not doing
the
it
educational time,
unfortunately.
exactly.
Ellen, then Jess.
I think they're more upset because they don't understand that we have decided no cell phones. And I think they're going to show up and say, this is the reason we want them. And we've already made that decision. So maybe that needs to go out, that we've made that decision. And then if you want to come to the board meeting, please do. Then we'll explain what's next.
So I'm just gonna say, if we're going to go down that route, then I think we need to move the Yonder meeting off the board meeting, because we already are gonna have the masks prior to the board meeting. We have the full budget being presented at the board meeting. So I think if we're sending out something like that, then I think we should not have this meeting the same night as all that other stuff going on.
Okay, so let's rethink this then.
Well,
Hold on, Jess and then Kathy.
I was just going to point out the fact that we actually haven't made a decision about not wanting cell phones in the schools, because for us, a decision would be a vote, correct? And we haven't voted to change our current policy. So I think that discussion wise, we're all kind of moving in that direction conversationally, but we haven't changed any policies yet. So just for the sake of not confusing people, there hasn't been a change to our current policy until we change our current policy. But we're moving in this direction because there is a shared concern that we should move in a different direction. But I think that would be confusing, especially like to staff and students, if all of a sudden it's like, oh, the board already made this decision and nobody knows when this decision was made. If that makes sense.
Mhm.
Kathy?
I'm just wondering if, because Yonder is on our agenda for our next meeting, if we as a board make the decision to pursue, the contract, that perhaps then a message could go out to parents. At last night's meeting, or at this meeting, it was decided, and our reasons for doing it, like you said, Nikki, because of increased educational time and then give the link so that they can go and learn more about it. But I almost feel like we should make that decision before, because it's out there. I mean, it's been on the local news, it's been in the paper. I mean, so parents who really are interested in wanting to know about it can look it up and know that it's there. It's not a secret. So.
I like that.
Just to kind of like piggyback on Justice, because she's right, we haven't voted. Can we, because I think we're caught in this chicken and egg thing, right? Because we can't vote on it until we change the policy. We can't change the policy till we know if we're implementing this.
Right.
Can the board vote on solely like the foundation of the policy with like details to come?
Well, so the only thing that I think our current policy doesn't allow cell phones other than for educational use. So I think we already don't allow cell phones.
So we're just changing the mechanism as to
Well, I
how we
think the
don't allow them?
difference now is we have the one-on-one devices, which our policy, we didn't have that when we created the policy. But kids aren't supposed to just be on their phones all day. It's under our current policy. So, the only discretion is for educational purposes. They can use their phone, but they're not supposed to be using their phone.
But aren't they also allowed during lunchtime and passing times for the policy?
I believe so.
Policy doesn't.
The policy doesn't state that, though. It's just kind of, I think, grew legs of its own. Is that the right word?
Right. Well, it's silent. The
It's
policy
silent,
is silent on all of those areas.
I'm kind of with Fiona, though. I don't think it matters fundamentally because you could, and again, this isn't my preferred method, but you could vote to buy these Yonder pouches and sign a licensing agreement and simultaneously refer the policy to the policy committee for updating. And by the time you receive the Yonder pouches and they're all ready to rip, you could have edited your policy. So you can do both at the same time. And then while it takes them time to get your order together and ship it, you can change your policy. We have the discretion to change the policy pretty much at any time.
Yeah, I don't see the chronology as a problem either. It'll just get done in step. I think we have decided by consensus that we want to get rid of, we want to tighten up a policy that already says no cell phones in class. Cell phones were probably a bad idea to begin with. They create friction between teachers and students. They create friction between teachers, between administrators and teachers too, because some teachers want the policy enforced, others maybe have a different attitude, and administrators have to deal with all of that. And test scores haven't gotten better since we let cell phones in the school either. So there are lots of reasons. I think we have a consensus that they're gone. We were too lax or maybe not diligent enough in watching them progress through the system the last few years. And if people want to know more about it, they can watch those interminable policy meetings where we discuss that. They're out there on Google. As that says, it's not our job to drop people kicking and screaming and for their own knowledge when they have access to it otherwise. We need some backbone. We need some leadership. Let's just go do it.
Any other questions, comments?
To your reference on the agenda and the topics for next week, because we do have 3 significant topics that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
So what are your suggestions on how to handle that, as opposed to putting it off a month? Do we need another special meeting to discuss, I don't know what, one or the other?
Well, the only thing
I
I'm
don't know.
wondering is,
We're going to be there all night.
is if we do maybe, because administration has already seen all these presentations too, the Yonder ones.
The Yonder,
Yeah.
yes.
So I'm wondering if maybe the board should convene I hate to do this to you guys, but Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, just to see the Yonder presentation.
Mhm.
And that way Wednesday,
Monday, we can't.
Monday, we have expulsions.
Yep.
Monday-
And,
No, Monday, that's
No,
the 28th.
no, Monday's a
21st.
holiday, the 20,
oh, the 21st.
the 28th is the,
The 22nd is a PD day.
right.
28th of expulsion.
Right, 21st, we don't have expulsions.
21st, we have no school.
Because there's no school.
Oh, that's
It's
right.
President's Day.
Okay, forget it.
And then Tuesday's a PD day.
So we can leave, right?
So you're just talking about seeing the presentation as a group on Tuesday?
Yeah, I mean, if the board,
I wouldn't vote on it that day. I think.
no, I'm
No,
not
no, we
saying
can't
voting on it, I'm
Okay.
just saying,
just to see it instead, in lieu of seeing it Wednesday.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And we could, as, my,
So we
my
got
one caveat
tomorrow.
would be making sure that it goes up publicly
Can't do that, right?
available between then and the Wednesday night meeting. Because I think if we're not going to show it at the board meeting before the people, if you will, on Wednesday, people are going to want to see it, I think. Like there are going to be some people who will go out of their way to look for it. So I would just want to make sure that it's available.
so the other option is to do a 4:30 Yonder meeting, a 5 o'clock mass meeting, and a 6 o'clock board meeting.
None of those are going to be as short as they're scheduled for.
And if parents want to see the Yonder presentation, won't they be expecting that as part of the Board of Ed meeting?
I don't
The
know.
agenda hasn't gone out. Has the agenda?
No one has
No,
reached out
okay.
about the Yonder. It's been on several agendas.
Okay,
and
okay.
Other than the students
I just
have
wondered
sent
if-
the same email.
Right, but
That's
I
the
just
only
wondered when they
feedback we
saw
got.
the agenda, if they would, if parents would then expect there would be a
Send
present.
the information on after the vote.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
if we
right.
receive the presentation in advance of the regular board meeting, instead of at the regular board meeting, there may have been people who were kind
Right.
of expecting to see it at the regular board meeting, right? And
See, and
I
I
just don't want
guess-
to jip them.
Yeah, but I thought you said that you didn't care if they saw
No, that's not what I.
it. That's not what I heard.
I'm saying people should come to the meeting, right? And they will come to the meeting, I think. And they'll kind
I
of be
think
saying like, oh, this
students will
is,
come.
and this is
Yeah.
the Board of Ed meeting. This is where it's supposed to happen. Lo and behold, the board's already looked at it. It's not going to be there for you to look at and you just get to watch us vote. And I think that's kind of cruel.
But that would
Yeah.
also be a public meeting, right? If we did that at 4:30.
Yeah. it would
Yeah.
have to be a
So
public meeting.
anybody, so the board could receive the information at the same time that the public receives the information. And then the topic could be on the agenda at the 6 o'clock meeting.
Right.
With discussion and vote. So if people want to watch the presentation at 4:30 or come for the presentation at 4:30, there wouldn't be public comment at that time, but there would still be public comment at the 6 o'clock meeting. So people could actually get the same information and maybe a bit of more segmented, but a bit more focused.
That
way.
makes
Does that
sense.
make
That makes sense, yeah.
So there wouldn't be any discussion at the 4:30 meeting. We would just,
Well, the board could discuss.
Right. we would-
Yeah, but mostly it would be the presentation and us asking questions of the presenter.
okay.
So Yonder's presentation is how long? 10 minutes?
Yes, I mean, it's really simple.
So we could easily do that, have a couple of questions between us.
Yeah, I
and be
mean, for
done by
me, it
5.
was really, I wanted to get the Yonder people in front of the board so the
Right.
board could ask them questions. If they had questions of the Yonder people.
Mhm.
Still 4:30.
So we would watch it at 4:30, but they would present at the full board meeting.
No.
No, they're gonna present at 4:30.
It's like a special meeting, so we do the presentation and have the opportunity to speak with them.
But it's public and it would be streamed and people could come or they could watch online just like they
Right.
would
And
for.
yeah,
a 6
that
o'clock.
So it would
makes
be,
sense.
so it would be 20 minutes that we would,
We have half an hour. for it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
10-minute.
well,
presentation
10-minute
and 20
presentation, 20 minutes to ask any
Yeah,
questions.
and then we
Yeah.
get to spend 3 hours on masks and then we'll do the full board meeting. I'm serious, that's what's gonna happen.
I don't think we need more than 30 minutes with on Yonder right now at this
We
point.
just can't do anything less than.
But we have to, like, we've already, like, this is the
That's the
one
only
thing that
problem.
we're so close to,
We'll
we're
have
so
John
close.
time us and then we stop
run
and
them.
that's it.
Let John run the
I don't think-
meeting.
I don't think, just to move along, I don't think anyone is upset about your idea to see the presentation at 4:30, right? We're all
Yeah.
okay with
Better
that.
than 6.
And I
Mhm.
think that would be good because we get the information, we ask whatever questions we think about the time, and then we would still have a discussion item at the 6 o'clock meeting. So if people come and give comment, we could still our discussion could still be informed by their concerns as well.
I don't think the other guys have to leave at 5 o'clock. They can stick around. They should. I'll tell them to stick around all night.
They can stay.
They're coming from Boston, so.
If anybody has questions, yeah, they're right
Actually, I
there.
think you stay in a hotel halfway because they're doing a grand opening. So.
There might not be.
Right?
But it's not, right, it's a presentation, it's not.
Well, I also have to check with them
An open
because they
forum.
are putting them into Chicopee, Holyoke, a bunch of Massachusetts schools in the next 2 weeks, so.
Okay.
I have to check their schedule, because 4:30 early.
Yeah, but I think Matt doesn't do the installs. He does the PR work. So.
Yeah, so I'll find out if 4:30 works.
And if it doesn't, then what's plan B?
Do it at the meeting.
Yeah.
Like we
Just
just
do it at the meeting.
Okay.
Just,
I mean, I'm
Hunker
just
down.
really stuck on if the board votes to pursue this, there is going to be several parent nights, student nights,
Right.
student
they'll have
assemblies.
plenty of opportunity
And
to,
they do the presentation geared specifically to parents. And
Okay,
I think that's what's complicating, in my mind, is the presentation to the board is very different than what the presentation to the
Right.
parents and the students is gonna be.
Right.
And we
So,
can attend any of those also.
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Full of Nikki.
I just think we have to stop talking about stuff and we have to.
We need to move.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Just
Begging.
That's
Okay.
why I said no.
So, and the only reason I think there was a presentation was so that people could have the ability to ask yonder people questions, but I think the information is all out there, so I'm
Mhm.
not even sure about that, but I just want to give people the opportunity to meet them and talk to them, but.
should we do a
really-
straw poll on that?
We can, I mean,
Or
I'm
whether we
just
need them
completely
to
done
come?
talking about cell phones.
Yes,
I've
right,
spent
right.
So
Yeah.
many years, I
Well,
just want to make
We
sure
already
let
got
them
this.
go.
they
All
also
right,
are
just
gonna
let 'em
walk,
come.
they're gonna walk our building
That's saying.
tomorrow, right?
Wow.
Thursday and Friday.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
straw
mean, I'd like
poll,
to hear
do
what they say
people
about
want a
that.
presentation?
Yeah.
Do they want the ability to speak to yonder? I guess that would be
Yes.
You're talking about the board members.
board members.
Yeah, so go ahead,
Yeah, if they do.
rephrase that.
Before we vote.
At 4:30.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
The
I have
majority
no
is-
problem with that.
4:30 if
For
it's
those that
possible,
haven't been
if not
involved.
during the meeting.
That works.
All right.
So yonder will stay for the meeting also?
Yes, we're gonna stay. It's Matt.
They
He's
can't
staying in a
they can't do
hotel
4:30,
in
yeah.
Lee, Mass or something.
No, but then stay for
She's
the
gotta
meeting
verify.
after.
I don't think we need them to stay. I mean, if they're giving the presentation to
It's
us,
either or,
Oh, okay, well,
that's a long time and we don't
Yeah.
really know what's gonna happen at the 5 o'clock mass, so.
right?
Mm.
So the agenda will
Yeah,
be
we-
made,
Come on.
the,
4:30, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
Well, the agenda will be dependent on if they can come at 4:30 or not.
otherwise we're just doing.
Otherwise, just do it at the 6 o'clock.
Right.
So it'll
Right.
actually, Sue, just sorry, it'll actually be 3 meetings.
yeah, that's what I
A
thought.
special meeting on
Right,
yonder,
yeah.
a special meeting on masks.
Yeah.
and then
If they can do 4:30. So,
Yeah, otherwise special meetings won't happen.
yeah, correct.
Okay, we're good.
All right. Okay.
So
We don't vote in subcommittees. Entertain a motion to go into executive session regarding the security grant, inviting in Mr. Barlow, Ms. Slabomsky, board clerk,
Then,
Lynn. Is there anyone else we need to invite in?
this is just structure.
Is there anyone else? to invite
No,
in?
that's it.
Sorry, Jason. We'll be back.
I can go cook dinner.